Holy cow, have I been busy. My gosh. These last few days I've been busy just grinding away. I've actually been streaming a lot of it and kind of sorting out the pack and figuring out exactly what to teach you guys in this, because this one was the tricky one. I ended up unlocking MV in our progress on the stream, and it kind of stumped me realizing, but we can't power our MV stuff in the current setup that we have. So it just definitely took me for a little whirlwind, and I've been kind of studying it all, figuring it out the last few days, and I think I finally figured it out. So in this one, I'm just going to show you guys everything you missed on the last few streams on the last few days, and I'm going to show you the little bit of progression we've actually made that ended up unlocking MV, and we'll actually craft a first MV machine together. Yeah, we ended up making one of the MV machines on the stream, which is the MV electrolyzer. I will show you that recipe, and I will show you the other MV machine. We end up crafting our second one together, so you end up seeing a lot of the parts firsthand again. But I walk through all the recipes of everything that we ended up crafting that you missed. I end up walking you guys through them all, and everything tricky because I get some of these are kind of hard to find and look up. So I walk you through all the weird dust that we end up mixing together, and I walk you through just the whole process to get to where I am finally, and what all happened these last few days, because a lot has gone on. Went and celebrated and did a bunch of things over the weekend and had some fun. So it has definitely been a process, but the streams are absolutely worth checking out if you haven't tuned into them yet. That's where a lot of this actually goes down, and a lot of this learning and experimenting actually happens. So they are kind of fun to watch, and I've actually been working hard and getting that set up to be a little more enjoyable for everyone, because I just hit affiliate on there. So it's worth checking out, and it's absolutely worth the time on there because we have a fun time. The links are in all the videos as always though. Same with the Discord, and the Discord is filling up, so don't be afraid to pop in there. We have a few people in there already, and quite a few of them are actually pretty helpful, so don't be afraid to pop in there and ask some questions if you ever need help or just want to say hi. Just share your screenshots and brag a bit, because that's what it's all about. This is a fun community, and it's absolutely worth getting into a little bit. Otherwise, I hope you stick around and stay tuned for this one, because we did a lot in this one actually. Well, we go over a lot in this one, and I show you guys a little bit of starting the MV age and kind of what my predicament was of getting into the MV age, because it kind of did put me in a weird little predicament. Stick around and I will show you all of that. My name's CryptoDuck, and this is Gregtech New Horizons, episode 18. Okay, let's talk about what's gone on in between episodes. So a bit has happened. I did actually make it to MV on stream. Wasn't trying to, but it just kind of happened. We were sitting here crafting some of the stuff to make some of these good circuits and looking to get in the circuit assembler. But once you do that and you make a good circuit, you end up unlocking MV. So we ended up kind of looking into our MV options a little bit too, but all you guys really missed was making the gallium and arsenic. And this was actually pretty easy to get. Gallium, I electrolyzed the sphalerite that I got in the nether, so you get not a bunch of it, but you get a little bit of this when you're collecting sulfur in a sulfur vein. So you could just purify it and throw it into an electrolyzer, or clean it and throw it into an electrolyzer, and it will give you a 9% chance of gallium. 9.1. It's not the greatest percentage, but it'll give you the first couple, and you only need a little bit to get started. But you can also keep an eye out, because I think once you get this crystal and make this, and you get both of them, you combine the dust, you make the crystal is what it was, and you make it with gallium and arsenic in your blast furnace. So once you have your blast furnace, you get both of these. Arsenic too wasn't too bad to get. Arsenic I got from my Realgar ore, because I had a good bit of this stuff. But there is other ways to get some of it. You can cobalite. You can electrolyze cobalite, but you do need an MV one for that, so I guess it doesn't work. It said you could do it in a blast furnace, but I didn't see that recipe. But I had enough Realgar ore laying around. I was able to get just a little bit to make some of this. It's like, it worked. It wasn't the best, but it worked. It's guaranteed at least. So as long as you have some Realgar, you can make it. And that's from a purified dust. So you can take your ingot. If you already turned your Realgar into an ingot, you can just grind it up, and that will give you your Realgar dust. It's kind of cool. So we did that, threw them in the blast furnace, made our crystals, macerated it, and that allowed us to make some diodes, because you need to take the dust from macerating it. So if you grind it up, you'll get big dust. You need to break it down into small dust. So a couple dust will give you quite a few that you can make some diodes with. combine it with some copper wire, and you get some diodes. And if you do it in the assembler, you need some glass or polyethylene. I just did glass because we haven't done polyethylene yet. So I just went to my fluid extractor, threw in some of the quartzite that I had, because you can't do sand yet or the glass bottles. That was an MV recipe. The only one you could do with an extractor is quartzite. So I just threw that dust in because I have a lot of it. And I got the little bit of glass I needed, made the few diodes, which allowed us to craft these final good circuits, which we needed to make our first MV machines. So I ended up using that, and we ended up making our first machine hole, which the MV machine holes are just like our LV ones. So you guys really didn't miss much. It's just different plates, so it's a different metal now, and we're going to start using aluminum. So that's why you need to start focusing on getting some aluminum production of some sort. And I have some ways for aluminum right now, but I do need to work on aluminum myself because I do not have any natural way of producing it at the moment. I've just been getting it as a byproduct from other things. If you take your 8 aluminum plates, put them around a wrench, you get your machine casing, and that works for all the MV machine casings. And then to make it a machine hole, you take copper cable, wrought iron plates, and an aluminum plate in your casing. The copper cable is just like all the other cables before. It's just one copper wire and then molten rubber. So it's the same copper wire you've been using in the LV age for your circuits. You're just gonna surround it by rubber now and use it as an actual cable. You could make a annealed copper cable, but that's a different thing that we don't really need to worry about at the moment. But yeah, it does work in here. And yeah, annealed copper cable. If you want to make annealed copper, it's a bit of a process. You got to cook it in your arc furnace with some oxygen and you will anneal it. But it is cheaper to use annealed copper in the long run from my understanding. I haven't done it yet, but yeah. So I will show you guys that if we end up making some later. But we ended up making that, and I ended up making these because I realized I kind of got stuck behind our semi-fluid generation. It kind of gated us getting into MV, because if you actually go to how to generate power, the MV generators, the first two that you'll get unlocked right away as soon as you get into MV, and like I think it was the motor that unlocked these, you get the Church of Benzene, and then you get the MV Sturm turbine. And I ended up realizing I couldn't make the diesel one yet, the combustion generator, because that took pistons, and I just didn't have the pistons made at the time yet. We didn't make it that far on that stream. So I'm like, well, we can't do that, and we need to start using our MV stuff if we're going to get into MV. And it's just kind of complicated to power with LV stuff. I believe you can, but we need to transform it and reduce the amperage down, and it's kind of complicated at that point. So in order to simplify things, I figure we just need to try to get a different generator going to get our stuff to create this one, because our semi-fluid generator that we want, I really like these. They seem pretty efficient, and it gives us some fun options and opportunities for the future for power. It's locked behind Eglin steel, and this was the only one that was actually kind of gated behind something that we didn't have access to yet, because Eglin steel, if you look at this, in order to make Eglin steel, you need to make Eglin steel base compound, you need sulfur, you need raw silicon dust, and you need some carbon dust. All that's really easy to make except for the Eglin steel. The Eglin steel itself is iron powder, canthal, and Invar. And the Invar we ended up making for the EBF, so we know how to make Invar now, but the canthal is iron, aluminum, and chrome. And chrome is what I was struggling to get, because the main ways to get chrome that I have available for myself is electrolyzing something, ruby dust. And that's even what the quest book tells you to do, but the only way you can electrolyze it, it's an MV recipe. You need an MV electrolyzer, and you need to be able to power that for a little while to get your original dust to be able to make this stuff. So that was kind of my thought process, is I'm like, okay, so I need to be able to power my MV electrolyzer so I can at least get a semi-fluid generator. So I need to be able to power a machine or two in the MV age before I could do that. So I looked at the other options, and I looked at the Church of Benzene. I wasn't gonna plan for benzene, and I'm probably not gonna do benzene for power. I wanted its generator because I decided if we're gonna do semi-fluids, creosote's not gonna hold us forever, so we need to add something to our semi-fluid tanks and, you know, create some other source of fuel. My thought process was that if you're still burning creosote, like it says right here, it won't last long, and it's definitely not a good main power source, but it'll give you some EU for your trouble. Alternatively, heavy fuel. It has the same EU per bucket as benzene, 360k, and it is the only semi-fluid with more than 100,000 per bucket. If you have it and are not consuming enough for diesel, you can use it this way. I don't think we need to use diesel as a fuel, so honestly we might end up maybe powering some things with it down the road if we have to, but maybe just avoid any of it for now. I'm not honestly sure. We will figure that out, but that is kind of what was stopping me. Is I'm like, okay, so we can't, our creosote, even if we can get it, our creosote's not going to do a heck of a lot with it, and it's going to eat it up pretty quick, so we need to look into getting heavy fuel anyway. So I figured we need to finally tap into the oil, and that's what I kind of did. I went and took the pump that we got from that quest here. I went and found some oil, and I made some gas out of it, which is why I wanted the gas turbine. So if you come over here, check this out. I filled up our other tank. It is filled with, if you check it out, our liquid gold. We got some oil, and this was just a little test setup to see exactly what was kind of happening here and how working with oil was going to work. So you kind of need to take a distillery and you're going to start breaking it down from its original oil state, and we needed something out of it. So one of the first things you can get out of it, there's only like 4 original products you can actually get from straight oil. Well, 5 I guess. There's sulfuric light fuel, sulfuric naphtha, sulfuric gas, sulfuric heavy fuel, and lubricant. So I ended up choosing sulfuric gas because it was just easy to make, pretty quick to produce, and it was just enough to at least get me going and get a little stuff made so we can start actually getting into the MV age. I did that, and that was enough to actually power that turbine, and I tried it out with my electrolyzer last night. I threw a bunch of cells in it, ran it with lazurite. I had it. Whoops, oh, we did get elevators too as a reward. I threw it in here and started powering some lazurite. Well, electrolyzing some lazurite, because if you electrolyze this, check this out. It gives you straight aluminum, silicon, calcium, and sodium, which is a lot of stuff that you actually need a good amount of here soon, and some of it right away, but a lot of it not yet, but we will actually need it here soon. Like sodium, I believe we're going to need soon, and calcium, I believe we're going to need soon. Raw silicon we're going to start using. Aluminum we're using pretty heavily now, so it's actually a decent little source of aluminum if you have a lot of it. And like I did at the beginning, if you notice, I found a lapis vein and I totally macerated all of the lapis, lazurite, and the sodalite or whatever. I macerated all of it, and I had a ton of it, and then I still have just plain pieces of it too. I had a ton of it, so I ended up cleaning it all. I centrifuged it all and ended up getting more of the lazurite from the sodalite if you centrifuge the sodalite. So I've just been kind of letting these run for the last couple days, just slowly getting more of everything. It all adds up if you actually process everything and work on that, and if you have time, just let it do its thing. And yeah, I've just been getting a ton of materials that way. It's been paying off. But this has been a good source of aluminum. I still got to clean all this out, but I have some raw aluminum I still got to smelt down, and I got a bunch in the cooker that's been cooking for a while now, and I got a few stacks in the barrel over here. So it's definitely paying off. I'm glad I actually picked all that up and did all that, but it's a process. Aluminum is definitely slow, so you might want to end up looking into getting more EBFs. That's kind of my plan. So the last couple days I've just been collecting materials and having the miners out non-stop. Those auto miners are absolutely your best friend, so make use of them if you have not found them and used them yet, because these things are phenomenal. These basic miners, definitely worth your time. But yeah, once we made all that, we went to the MV age, and in the MV age we got our silicon and the silicon dioxide, all the good stuff, and all that's gonna pay off, so hold on to it for now. But the next thing we actually need to get is a mixer, because I can't make the Eglin steel dust in our LV mixer. It doesn't allow us, and there's no shaped crafting for it, so we actually need to make a mixer. And this one is pretty simple. It's a Brown's rotor, an MV motor, some MV circuits, and an MV machine hole. And the rotors, I realized, if you make your LV fluid solidifier, so we did make one of these, but it's all with parts you've already made, so there was nothing new there. But if you make one of these and fill it with bronze, you can put a rotor mold in it and actually make your rotors that way. And if you do the math, it's 144 per ingot, so that's 4 1/4 of an ingot there to make a rotor, which if you would normally make that the normal way, it would be 4 plates, a ring, and a screw. Even if you made it just an assembler, it'd be 4 plates, a ring, and some tin, some lead, or some soldering alloy. So it's kind of a decent deal to actually do it in the solidifier if you can do that. But in order to get the liquid, you need the fluid extractor then. So if you have a fluid extractor, it doesn't, well, for the bronze, it has to be MV. So that was the catch. We weren't able to do it with the bronze yet. I made it thinking I could, got all excited, and that didn't work. But it does work for the tin one. So you can use it for your tin rotors in the LV age still. If you're going to hang out in the LV age for a while, you should make one still and use it. It'll save you some time, just some headache of crafting stuff. You could just fill a bunch of them up and let them run for a while and make you parts for everything. Pretty neat. But yeah, we need to make a rotor, a motor, and some circuits. And the circuits for MV are 3 normal LV electronic circuits. So this is where it's going to start getting kind of costly. So you need a bunch of your LV circuits still. Don't think you got away from them. You definitely did not. You need 2 diodes, and then you need a copper wire on each side like normal, and then a steel casing, and that will give you a good circuit. So they are absolutely kind of pricey, which is why we kind of want to look into getting a circuit assemblers, because an LV circuit assembler can actually craft these. I get why they actually unlock MV before you get that. It's kind of funny. So if we actually want to get this here soon, if you've made this already, good for you. It's some I need just put off, and I don't know why. It would save us a lot of time and effort in making these circuits, and it just looks like it makes it a little cheaper in the long run, but it does take a lot of weird little parts to craft, so it's not the easiest, and it does take MV circuits to make, or you can use MV circuits, I believe. Yeah, it's not the easiest to craft, but we will definitely get one of them made here soon. But I just wanted to show you guys everything that we've really done. It wasn't a heck of a lot, but let's look into getting a mixer made, because yeah, the MV pump is just a motor. It's just different materials. It's all the same patterns as before, it's just aluminum now and copper nickel wire instead of copper wire here for these motors. So we had to make a bunch of 2x copper nickel, so you end up making a lot more of that like you did for the EBF. So hopefully you made extras like I did, because it's actually paying off right now for me. If not, then you'll have to actually mix up a little more. Don't forget there is a mixer recipe for it, so you can save yourself the hassle of making it. Just throw it in there and walk away and come back a little later and grab your dust and smelt it and do your thing. Other than that, it's pretty easy actually. Everything else just didn't really change. It's just, yeah, the materials. Pistons are the same, just aluminum and copper wires now. So you need to make copper wires, a lot of aluminum plates, a lot of aluminum rods, a lot of aluminum gears, a ton of copper cable, ton of copper nickel wires, a ton of magnetic steel rods instead of iron steel now, so that's another change. Aluminum rods, so a lot of aluminum rods, and that's really it. And then the good circuit boards for the MV stuff, it's just the phenolic circuit board in gold foil, and the phenolic board is just wood pulp covered in glue, or you could do molten whatever that is, bisphenol. Yeah, it's just covered in glue, and that's an easy one to make with gold foil if you have the chemical reactor. Otherwise, you have to do it with a shaped craft for now, which is just the gold wire wrapped around it. And the gold wire we've made just like every other wire. Throw it in a wire mill. You can do it with an ingot or a rod. If you have a rod laying around that you don't need, you can throw that in. But you can throw an ingot in on a one circuit, and it'll give you the same wire. You will need a lot of gold, so you will actually have to be mining for that quite a bit, because it's not the most common ore that I have found. It is definitely kind of rare, and that's kind of been holding me back here and there too. But let's see if we can make our mixer. So to make our mixer, what are we missing here? We're just missing a circuit and a machine hole. So let's make a machine hole. I already have some of the machine casings made, but let's make some more holes. So there's the rest of them. There's 7 of them. Now, so for our MV circuit, the good electronic circuit is the one you're going to want. It's just a little easier, and we don't have a circuit assembler yet, so we can't do that yet, unfortunately. But for now, we do it this way, and all we're missing is the copper wire and the steel casings. We have copper wire here. Steel casings we can make. Those aren't actually that bad to make. Okay, so let's make this good circuit. There's our missing one. We needed 2. So now we can take this and make a mixer. And with our mixer, we can finally make this Eglin steel, because that is what has been kind of holding us back from entering into the MV age. You need to think about your power here going forward, because yeah, creosote isn't an option for the long term, and we need to look into other options. That's what I decided with the oil, and I just went and took the fluid pipe. I made the long distance fluid pipe and went and connected it up. I will show you guys that, because we're gonna have to move it later anyway, so I will show you guys that when I do that and show you how to hook it up and that whole process. It's a little weird, actually. It took me a minute to figure it out, and it was just kept giving me troubles, and then it finally got it working. So I will definitely show you guys that one because it's a little funky. Let's go move this electrolyzer and see if we can get this mixer going for a second and make some Eglin steel finally, because this would be nice. Actually, we don't even have to do this. We can just rotate this. And now let's stick a wrench on it and stick a chest on it. And we need to make Kanthal, and Kanthal is made in an MV mixer. So I have a little chrome and got some aluminum and iron. The chrome I ended up getting, once I got this electrolyzer, I ended up getting it from ruby dust. And you can get more ruby dust from centrifuging redstone, actually, but you do build up mercury, so you need to find a way to void it or get rid of it. I only show fluid and auto output. I've seen other people with like void options, but I think it's just a multi-block thing, maybe. I'm not sure. But I've just been actually tanking it and putting it over into here for now, and whenever this fills up, I just void it, because I kind of don't have a use for it yet. If you centrifuge redstone, you'll get more ruby dust if you need ruby dust. And then you could just electrolyze it, and it will actually allow you to get your chrome that you need for this start. Just for a little bit of this, because it doesn't take much. So let's get my chrome out. I saved it somewhere. There's my chrome. Go grind these up, and I will meet you guys back at the mixer when we got everything ready. Okay, so we're back at the mixer. Kanthal takes chrome, aluminum, and iron on a 1 circuit. So we put this on a 1, chrome, iron, and aluminum. And now, oh wait, I forgot my fuel. I need to give it some gas. Come over here, let's steal some gas. Doesn't take that much, but it's fine. This definitely is a terrible fuel source, but it's working for now. So if we dump a little in here, leave this in here, and this will start running. It's taking 120 EU, so yeah, it's definitely gonna burn this up, but it's fine. We will get enough for our troubles, and in here we will get our Kanthal. So once we get our Kanthal, we need to throw it in here again. It's kind of funny too, because it's ironic. It takes an MV mixer to make Kanthal, but it takes an LV mixer to make Eglin steel based compound, which uses Kanthal. That's just, what the heck. Okay, so we got our Kanthal done now. So in order to make the Eglin, we need to change it to a number 20 circuit and throw in a good amount of Invar, good amount of iron in our Kanthal. So there's our iron, there's our Invar, there's our Kanthal, 20 circuit. Boom. That gives Eglin steel base. And we're not done yet. We need to mix it now with some sulfur, some raw silicon dust, and some carbon dust. So we take all that, and the more that it's making up here for us, throw it all back in there on a, what number was it? On no circuit, so it doesn't need a number. We got plenty of it though. So if we shift right click, it'll get rid of that. Stick a stack of sulfur, a stack of Eglin steel, a stack of carbon, and our silicon, or raw silicon dust. And now that will give us Eglin steel. And this, I believe you actually just smelt it. Yeah, it doesn't need to go into anything fancy like an EBF. Go into your straight old furnace. Give it a little more, and there it goes. We got 3 stacks out of all that, which should be plenty to get a few of these MV generators up and going for us, so we can actually power these properly and then start to focus on making some real fuel so we can power these efficiently. I also set up, by the way, in case you didn't notice, I set up this arc furnace. I finally figured it out. It was just like setting up the blast furnace. So if you connect 3 generators together instead of just 2 like we did for the blast furnace, you'll do a 3rd, and you'll connect it to this. And then I did it out of the middle because you want the shortest cable loss, so it made the most sense to have it come out of the middle. So behind that alloy smelt over there, there's 3 of these all plugged into it on a 4x cable. So the cable's overkill, but it has to be at least a 3x or higher, and you need to plug it into it and it'll run just fine. So that's all I did. Nothing fancy there for that one, and it actually works flawlessly. So it's perfect because now I could actually recycle some of this stuff. Some of these I can't, like the ULV, for some odd reason you can't recycle these, but I did like my steam stuff that I had, my extra steam, my low pressure steam machines. I got rid of all of them. I had a bunch of them laying around, so I got rid of them, and it was really nice. But it does take oxygen to do that, so I was getting my oxygen just from my electrolyzer, processing some of these stuff that I was doing. I don't quite even remember what gave it to me. There's a lot of ways you can get oxygen. It's actually pretty easy to get. But now, if we cook our Eglin steel, let's go throw this in the smelter. Let's make our gears out of it, and we can actually make these generators. I will show you how we can finally power in the MVH. The MV cables you do need to be cautious of because they do lose power over a distance. So the copper cables, which is where the annealed might come in handy because they don't lose as much. But your MV cables lose 2 volts per block instead of just 1 like all of our cables before. If you do the annealed version where you pre-cook it, it will actually only be 1 instead of 2. So maybe annealed would be worth us doing. We haven't actually looked into it yet, but maybe it would actually be worth it. But yeah, it looks like you just cook copper again as a dust. It has to be a dust. Oh wait, no, you can do it in your arc furnace too, but that takes oxygen as well. So either way, you're gonna need some oxygen to do that. You can anneal it and take your copper dust, stick it through, and it'll anneal your copper. And that will give you a little less loss and be what you're used to already with the tin cables. So then nothing would really change at that point. But yeah, if you're using these, you need to absolutely account for that. So most of your MV ones might want a generator just butted up directly to it so you have 0 power loss. Like I did with these. You can butt generators directly up to it. If you hold your wrench to it, you'll see the X, it's facing inwards. So it's powering this one directly and only this one. So this is a dedicated generator, and that's probably how we're going to have to do most of these MV ones, because yeah, these MV cables are just, they're not the best, and it is what it is, but that is fine. But let's make these gears now so we can make this fancy semi-fluid generator. So our advanced semi-fluid generator takes Eglin steel gears. We can actually make these in either the alloy smelter or we could do it in the fluid solidifier. And if you look at the cost difference, check this out. This is $576, so that is like just basically, gosh, what is that? Yeah, that's exactly 4 ingots to make it in a fluid solidifier, just like an extruder. If you have an extruder, an LV extruder, we did make one of these. We haven't actually used it yet because there's not much you can actually craft in it, but it's kind of funny that you could do some of these MV materials in an LV one. I find that kind of hilarious. Yeah, an alloy smelter takes 8 with just that gear the way we're originally doing it, which doesn't really save you anything. Like, that's just as expensive as making the rods and the plates yourself. And with the bending machine, you need the bender to make 1-to-1 plates. The solidifier is our best friend, so we'll probably end up using that. So if we go grab our ingots and throw them on our solidifier, we can grab our gear, because we have a gear mold already. Wait, we need a little more than 9. Yeah, we'll just take a stack out for now. Let's grab our gear mold though, and let's go up to our solidifier and our extruder, well, extractor, fluid extractor. So our fluid extractor is right here. If we come in here, let's feed it. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8. It should be enough for our 2 gears. Now if we take a cell that we've already made, a bunch of these little steel cells, collect that, just left click it, it'll pull it out. And then if we come to our solidifier here, put our mold into this first slot, dump your liquid into this left one, and it will automatically start and create your stuff for you. Just like that. You have a gear for 4 ingots instead of 8. It's pretty nice. If you did the rods and the bending machine to make it, this would save you 2, because every time you make a rod you get 2 dust back, well, 2 small dusts. So it's like half of an ingot to make a rod instead of a whole ingot like it was before for us, which isn't bad. So it's definitely starting to get a little cheaper on producing the parts, but it's a little more time consuming now to actually make them, which is fine. It means you just gotta leave stuff kind of automated, maybe set up designated lines, like a whole little part room just that stays running and keeping stuff in stock. Have a little chest in there or something where it doesn't make much but has just some little inventory to fill up, and then just as soon as that's full it'll stop crafting them or something. You could set up some sort of system to limit it. It would work. It's not actually a bad idea. That way you can have machines just always keep them in stock for you as you're using them. But now we have our gears, we have everything else we need. What are we missing now? Let's say that we have it all. Okay, copper nickel wires, we can make these. These you could do with an ingot. For the 2X, you could do them in your wire mill with the straight ingot on a number 2, so we can save a little time and hassle. Come to our wire mill, set it on number 2, slap in, let's throw in half for now. I need to really stock up on some of these weird resources that we have to make and mix. Some low on some of them. Keep forgetting we need more copper nickel. Yeah, the motor is pretty easy. besides these. These are just the complicated part. But we've already made copper nickel, so that's nothing new. We'll just make our circuit too. We need to make one more, which means I think we need to make some more LV circuits because I think we're low on those. And yeah, the diodes, I've been buying a bunch of these because I've had a bunch of these coins to use. But if you have your technician coins and you have the fancy ones that are leveled up to 10 in one, you can spend 5 of those to get 8 diodes. And if you run out of these ones, you can make more in your assembler. If you go to your assembler, put it on a number 10 and throw in all the level 1 coins, it'll stack them all and stacks the 10 for you too. So if like your chest is getting full on them, you could shrink down how many you have. So I did that with a lot of these. I went and compacted a lot of them. Now it's a lot less. Definitely helps. But you're actually gonna have to do that to start buying some of the stuff in the shop further down, it looks like. So yeah, you need them for the copper cables and you need them for the diodes now. You could even buy rubber sheets. So always keep an eye on that coin shop because you unlock new things every time you, not every time you do a quest, but a lot of quests unlock a lot of things in there. So keep an eye on it. But let's take some of our copper nickel wire for now and let's make some motors. 4, 2, 1, and 2. So it's not even any cheaper to do it in assembler, so there's kind of no point. Let's just go to our crafting table. You have to look at that. Some things are better to make in assembler, some are not. So it's kind of weird. But there's 3 of those are good circuits. We're missing more electronic circuits on, which we can make more of. There's 5 more of those. Okay, I got it all together finally, guys. Take a minute. Yeah, I think I'm gonna actually work on here soon like a dedicated area to craft parts and just machines in general, because they kind of take their own little storage area, and this one little chest isn't enough, so I'm thinking maybe split it between 2 and have like one dedicated just to making the machine casings and base parts, and then the other one can be dedicated to making the rest of the machines themselves, like the whole thing, and then other stuff, because some of those need weird parts, gears and stuff, and wire. Trying to think of a better way to set up a room to design and build circuits and parts in than what I kind of have set up at the moment. But for now it works. But let's craft this finally and let's end this. So, boom. And yeah, all that was 2 MV motors, a hole, 2 MV pistons, your circuit, a cable, and those gears. Yeah, it's like everything we've made before, just aluminum and steel now. It's pretty neat. This is cool because now I need to get the stuff to make a lot of these, but this gives us some good opportunities to actually do and progress with now, because if I hooked it up to our creosote, if you notice, I'm actually kind of running low already. We're not really producing enough to keep up with everything at the moment, and there's alternatives to that. We could produce more. There's definitely that option. We could produce more than we are, but we kind of don't need to, because there's other options, and if we make some fuel and actually take the time to process it, it should burn a lot longer, and like it should, yeah, we won't need as much as we would need a ton of coke ovens to be able to power all this. So it seems like a better idea to actually start processing this into something more efficient that we're going to use down the long run. And oil's a start, because we're going to need it anyway to produce some ethylene. There is other options to produce ethylene. It says I wanted to get it from oil because it kind of sounds fun to get from oil, and we found a couple oil geysers by us, so I figured why not. We're gonna dive deep with the oil and dive into all that and see what we can do with it. For now, I'm still thinking we could do semi-fluids, but we can actually work on diesel maybe too, and maybe split our power setup half and half or something. Use all of our product coming out of the oil and not just part of it, because it would be kind of silly to just use part of it and throw away the rest. But for now, I just wanted to kind of update you guys on what all happened. I've been streaming a bit the last few days, actually, just kind of wrapping my head around all of it and getting MV figured out, because it lets you get this originally, but then it's like you don't get your power even if you make that first thing, because it's like one of the first quests it unlocks. It shows you before you even make a pump or anything to power anything. So it's like, hey, get your electrolyzer that you can't power. And yeah, so I took me a little bit to figure that out, and then I did have my birthday on the weekend, so I just kind of celebrated that and had a little fun with that, and We put a roof on this and worked a little bit on the base, but other than that, it didn't actually do a heck of a lot in progression, besides just kind of unlocking MV on accident. And yeah, we just kind of started building into it and started working on some parts, because seeing exactly what it was going to take me to keep doing this and keep progressing. So I have been having the miners go out and collect all this stuff for us this entire time, non-stop. I keep checking them as much as I can, and it's definitely paying off, because gosh, they are effective, and I can't wait to make the next one. Here soon we should be able to craft another version of it. Yep, auto mining right here. Looks like I already can. So I'm probably gonna look into this one, because this one has a bigger working area. The one I have right now is only 17 by 17, so it's not the greatest, and this one also has a higher fortune bonus, so it'll be even better for what it's gonna give us. So these are absolutely worth getting and upgrading as you get more. So I made 3 of the basic normal miners. As soon as I get one of these, I'll probably swap one out and scrap it and make another one if I can, but I'll slowly keep upgrading them as we keep going, because these are absolutely worth your time, and they are so lovely to have. They save you a ton of headache. But I think that is a great place to wrap this one up. It was definitely a hectic last few days, and just getting everything figured out and sorted out, and understanding how we're going to keep progressing in the pack, and knowing what exactly we got ahead of us, because we do got a lot ahead of us, and it's a fun ride, and I can't wait to get through it. We got a bit of chemistry and quite a bit we're going to learn in the long run, but it's going to be a fun journey, and I'm stoked that you guys are sticking along with me this whole process. And if you've enjoyed it and you haven't subscribed and hit that like button, I'd appreciate it if you would. It really means a lot to me. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one, and I can't wait for it. Have a good one. Bye.